Hi everyone, and welcome to another Civilization 7 video. So in this video, I'm going to show you just how far you can go in Civilization 7 when you stack a whole bunch of different bonuses. In this case, we are going to do it with culture. And while I'm at it, I'm going to show you a good chunk of Exploration Age, and I'm also going to show you how the game works when you actually start a game in Exploration Age. I will be using a fairly basic setup. I'll be playing as Battuta, and the main reason why I'm using him is because he gains 2 wildcard attribute points after the first civic in every age. So this is going to come into play pretty quickly. I will also be using my mementos to get an extra cultural attribute point, and I will also be getting some influence after researching tech or civic mastery. This part is not necessary, I'm just hoping I'll get some good city-states, and if not, we can use influence to have an easier time fighting the AI, in case they declare war on me. For my civilization, I'll be using Hawai'i. They have some really fun stuff, as you will see pretty quickly. Anyway, we'll be playing on online speed in order to make this a little bit faster, and we'll be playing on Immortal difficulty. And also, one other reason why I'm using Ibn Battuta as my leader is because we are starting in Exploration Age, which means that you still get the traditions from Antiquity Age. In case you don't know, traditions are basically policies that are unique to a specific civilization, and they are a very important part of your strategy a lot of the time. They can be very strong, and you also get to keep them when you progress to the next age. So, because we are starting in Exploration Age, we still get our traditions from Antiquity Age, but we'll get them from the default choice for our leader. So in this case, Battuta's geographic choice is Aksum, and his historic choice is Persia, which means that we have a chance to get either the Aksum traditions or Persian traditions. In this case, we want Aksum. But it's not the end of the world if we don't get them. And the reason we want them is because they will give us more culture. And here we are. This is turn 1 of Exploration Age. And the way the game works, if you start in Exploration Age as opposed to Antiquity Age, is that you get a number of wildcard legacy points that you can use, and you will have a number of special advanced start choices, which you will not get otherwise if you progress to Exploration Age normally. And this means I can place a town or several, I can place a city, I can gain more wildcard attribute points, I can start with some units, technologies, or the civics. In my case, I'm going to start with 2 towns, and I will be able to place them myself. I will also start with the piety civic, cartography technology, astronomy technology, and will also place a city, which costs 2 wildcard points. We'll have our city in the middle of this landmass next to some fresh water, and we can have 1 town on the west side, close to some coast and some resources, and 1 town on the east side, also close to some resources and next to some fresh water. And now we get the rest of what we picked, which is piety, cartography, and astronomy. We also start with some units to protect our settlements, and we start with an army commander. He will also already have a little bit of experience. Now we get our wildcard attribute points, and this is because we're playing as Ibn Battuta, and we just got a civic, so he gets 2 attribute points after the first civic of the age, which we just got. So, one of the first things we want to do is work on our Hawai'i civics, because there are several key bonuses we want to get from this. One of them is +2 culture on marine terrain. That's a policy that we can get. We can also get a +4 culture on food buildings policy. Furthermore, we can unlock our unique improvement, but I will not be using this one as much. And we can get another +2 culture on marine terrain, as long as the settlements are following our religion. That will come into play a little bit later. And for our government, we will pick up a theocracy, because we want that juicy +20% culture bonus. And we'll get that every single time we get a celebration. And you get celebrations when you accumulate enough extra happiness. More happiness means more celebrations, and it also means more policies. For our research, we want to go for shipbuilding as soon as possible, because with shipbuilding, we'll be able to cross deep ocean terrain without taking damage. So that will be very important when reaching the New World. With that said, we should be able to reach New World without that. It's just that it's going to make it way more convenient and easier. So, as mentioned earlier, the policies you can see on the left side with the icon in the top left corner are traditions. These are from Antiquity Age, and these are Aksum traditions. We got those because we started at Ibn Battuta, and Aksum is his geographic choice. So because we got them, I'm going to pick up +2 culture on resources on or adjacent to coast right away. And for the other one, we'll pick up +20% production towards overbuilding for now. Our resources are not anything special, but we do have whales, which is +5 production. That is going to be a very nice boost of production in our capital early on. So now we can spend our attribute points, and as you can see, we already have 10 of those. And I'm going to spend basically all of them in our culture tree. So I'll grab a +25% culture towards studying civic masteries. I'll also take +1 culture in settlements for each resource assigned to them. Then we'll take some more culture from specialists, but I will not be using specialists much in this game. And finally, this allows us to take a repeatable +5% total culture. And I will be taking this with every single point I got left. So that means we can already stack it 6 times right away. So this gives me +111 culture right now on turn 1. Also, since we do start with a ship, I'm going to send it east right away, and we'll try to reach the New World. We should be able to do it, but I will have to cross some ocean tiles and take some damage on my ship. But we should be able to reach the New World. Here you can see all of the AIs and their yields. We can also get an insanely good bazaar in our capital, because it gets +1 gold for each adjacent coastal terrain. And we have a lot of adjacent coastal terrain to our city center tile. So the way crossing ocean works early on, before you get the technologies that allow you to do it safely, is that you can move as much as you want without taking damage on the actual coastal terrain. But once you enter deep ocean tiles, you can only move 1 tile at a time, and you will take significant damage every single turn, which means we will not be able to go further than maybe like 4 or 5 tiles max. Alright, and because I already unlocked +4 culture on food buildings, I'm going to remove commune and grab culture on food buildings. We want to stack that culture. This already gives me 151 culture per turn, but we are only just getting started. For our next civic, I'll research mana, but mostly because we need it for the final civic, not because I care too much about the bonus this gives us. And here you can see that I took 11 damage because I ended my turn in the deep ocean. However, we can already see some coastal terrain on the other side. It might be an island, but even an island is useful. Sometimes you can hop through some islands to the New World. This is what I'm hoping for in here. I will try to stay friendly with my neighbors, but I wanted to save my influence in case we find some good city-states. There are some really useful, unique improvements that you can get from city-states. For instance, there's a stonehead you can get for culture. And this can be really good, especially for our strategy. And in case the AI goes to war with us, influence can be very useful to either counter the penalty you might get due to them boosting their war support, or you can give them a combat penalty by boosting your war support using influence to be higher than their war support. And here we can already see a little bit of land. And this is actually the treasure fleet resource that we can see over there. Spices. You have to start a settlement, then you have to improve them, and that settlement will slowly generate treasure fleet points over time, and once the bar is full, it will spawn a treasure fleet, which then you have to bring back to your homeland and unload. We also unlocked a grist mill, which is a very good and a very early building that can give you a significant amount of food. However, as you can see, it's already getting +4 culture, which normally it does not. The reason we're getting +4 culture on it is because it's a food building and we got a policy that gives us +4 culture on food buildings. This is a Hawaii-specific tradition. We also got a narrative event where I got a choice of getting some culture or some science. So I will take science because that way we can get shipbuilding a little bit faster. And for my next civic, I will grab the final one, which will give us a policy that grants +2 culture on marine terrain. It also gives us +2 relics and +1 settlement limit. And after that, we'll be able to research the mastery, which will give me further +2 culture on marine terrain, for a total of 4. We will be getting +4 culture on every single coastal tile we're working. And then we'll have a whole bunch of other bonuses that will make that +4 worth a whole lot more than 4. One of the things I got pretty lucky with are camels. Camels are a very, very good resource in Antiquity Age and Exploration Age because it gives you more resource slots in a city of your choice. And you can move it around. It's a very useful and very flexible resource. If you see camels somewhere, you should always grab camels. I am still getting some science buildings because we do not want to completely neglect our science. I still need to do research. We unlocked the civic, so now I can remove my extra gold policy and replace it with +2 culture on marine terrain. We also got a narrative event with yet another cultural attribute point, which means I will be using it for another +5% to culture. And now I can start working on a normal exploration civics. We can also grab one more city over here in our homeland. This one actually looks pretty good. And most importantly, there's silk over there. And silk is a pretty important resource for my overall strategy because it gives +10% culture. A bit later on, I'll try to use merchants to import some silk from the AIs. And as you can see over here, the inn, which is already a good building to begin with, will now also give us +4 culture because it's a food building. So we want this city to be right next to fresh water, right here, and we found another treasure fleet resource. In this case, it's tea. We unlocked Economics Civic, which will give us access to merchants. Our settler is on his way. And unfortunately, we got a little bit unlucky because the AI beat me to this city location. And that unfortunately means I will not be able to get this silk because it's too far away from the closest viable settlement spot. It's not the end of the world, however. It's just that it would have been better with the silk. Now, I am still hoping to find some good city-states. We will most likely find them in the New World, which means we can build a wonder, which will give us +4 influence. And the influence is also going to be useful for other purposes. In this case, the Serpent Mound will also give us +3 science and +2 production to all unique improvements in this settlement. And if we get lucky, we might get a unique improvement from one of the city-states. Our capital is not the best location for it because it doesn't have that much space for potential improvements, but this is a pretty damn nice wonder. And now we can start our religion. We don't really have a lot of options in here, only 3 potential reliquary beliefs. It shouldn't be too hard to convert at least some of the AI cities with good urban population, so I'll pick up +1 relic for the first time conversion of another civilization settlement with at least 10 urban population. For our founder belief, we'll pick up some potential extra happiness because happiness is a very important resource, and more happiness means more celebrations. And we can get even more culture through celebrations, +20% temporarily in this case. We also got a quest to get the 3 relics, and we'll get a boost in culture when we do that. I am still going to start a settlement over here because we can get camels, and as I mentioned, camels are pretty damn good. Not to mention, this is still going to be a pretty decent settlement. And we'll grab the camels right away. Here's our New World settler, and we'll start the settlement right here in the middle. This way, the spices will be in range. Both of them. So, since we got our religion now, I will grab a theology, because that will allow us to potentially pick up a policy that gives our missionaries +1 movement and +1 charge. And we do have a unique missionary because we're Hawaii. We also got more attribute points, which means we can get, you guessed it, +5% culture again and again. And we are already up to 218 culture per turn on turn 18. So on standard speed, this is the equivalent of turn 36. And you can see in our new settlement over here, we can get a +8 culture right away with 2 really cheap food buildings. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Also because we can claim more tiles that way and get to the spices quicker. So now we are at 246 culture on turn 18. Now, because I only have 3 social policies right now, I will not be using extra movement and charges on missionaries. We will, however, pick that up later. We also finished our quest for the relics, which means we get a culture boost. We can also pick up an enhancer belief for our religion, and my favorite in here is actually +1 relic in temples in cities, because having relics is one of the milestone tracks in exploration age. And a lot of the time, the bigger problem is not getting the relics themselves, it's actually having enough space for them. And that +1 relic slot in temples helps a lot. And unfortunately, I made a slight mistake here, and I'm going to lose my ship. But it's not the end of the world, we will get another one. And for our next civic, I will actually pick up a reformation, because then we can get a religious orders policy. And that will give us +15% culture and happiness in our own cities that are converted to our religion. This is going to be a very important bonus for us. We also met one of the New World AIs, because when you move on to exploration age, 2 new AIs will start in the New World. So now, since I wanted to pick up religious orders for that juicy +15% culture, I will have to drop the extra movement and the charge on missionaries for now. And you can see, we are already at 348 culture per turn, and this is turn 22. So on standard speed, this would have been turn 44. And now we can see something I mentioned earlier. One of the AIs is trying to denounce me, and because I saved up a fair bit of influence, I can use 60 influence to cancel this diplomatic action. For our civics, we will pick up society, because this unlocks patronage, and that's +1 culture on each culture adjacency. And while that might not sound like much, it all adds up. So here, there's another wonder I could build, which is Tomb of Askia. This gives us +2 resource capacity in this settlement, but also gold and production for every resource assigned to it. It's a pretty decent wonder, actually, so I will try to build it here. We got the Serpent Mound, so now we'll be getting more influence. And while I haven't been spending it much, it will definitely come in handy. Also, because we know where the New World continent is, I am sending another settler that I bought with gold. We got our unique missionary here, the Kahuna, and I will go convert my other cities to my religion. Now, the way you convert cities to a different religion in Civilization 7 is by converting both the urban districts and the rural districts. However, if there's no religion to begin with, you only have to convert it once. Otherwise, you have to convert it twice. We did get the Tomb of Askia, so that's nice. It's a good wonder. We already have several relics, and something I mentioned earlier, the space can be a bigger problem than getting the relics themselves. We already have 1 excess relic that I do not have the space for. So now, because we are sending the missionaries, we can grab the mastery that will give us another +2 culture on marine terrain in settlements following our religion. And of course, I'm taking +20% culture for our celebration again, and because we got another policy slot, we can grab patronage. And as you can see, we are up to 383 culture on turn 28, which on standard speed would be turn 56. There's the civic, that's the mastery we unlocked, and this will immediately give us +2 culture on marine terrain in settlements following our religion. And this is not a policy, this is just an instant unlock. It's not a policy. We just have it now. You can also see 2 different icons for religions. This means that one of the districts, either urban or rural, got converted to somebody else's religion, which means I can use my missionary to convert it back to mine. Here we found a potentially decent spot for our city. And here's another AI attempting to denounce me. I can, again, use my influence to cancel that diplomatic action. It is still possible we'll end up fighting someone, so I will unlock walls by researching castles. And that will also unlock a better ranged unit, the crossbowman. For our civic, we'll grab diplomatic service because that gives us +1 social policy slot. And I am still recruiting missionaries. I will likely be spamming missionaries for a bit. We want to make sure all our settlements will have our majority religion, and then we want to go after some of the AI cities to get some relics for converting them. And here's yet another AI denouncing me. I can, again, just cancel that diplomatic action using influence. We got yet another policy unlocked, and we do have a lot of policies to choose from. And something that's actually worth mentioning is that in Civilization 7, when you're able to change your policies after unlocking a new one, you can actually do it multiple times if you're not sure what the effects will be. So in this case, I'm not sure whether rationalism is worth picking up or not, which means I can pick up rationalism first, then check what effect it will have, and if I decide that this is not good enough and it's not worth it, I can go back to policy change screen and change it back. And we can get our settlement started in the New World. This is definitely the proper New World continent now. And since we're on the topic of culture, I will also buy some food buildings right away, which will give me +4 culture. And as it turns out, we were actually very close to Torres del Paine Natural Wonder. And each tile of Torres del Paine would give us +3 food and +6 happiness. That is a very, very good happiness wonder. We also got +1 expansionist attribute point. And while the production bonus towards settlers is not as useful anymore, it will allow me to get the other bonuses faster. Also, now that we got this settlement, I can spend a little bit of gold and buy a scout just to explore the area. Maybe we'll find some more city-states. There's definitely a city-state just to the south, because we can see some units. Here I'm doing some more city conversions to my religion, and I'm also sending a missionary east to my New World settlements. Next up, for our civics, we will pick up bureaucracy, because that unlocks yet another social policy slot. And we have a lot of uses for that. And now we got bureaucracy, which means we got yet another policy slot. And now I can actually pick up evangelism, which gives our missionaries +1 movement and +1 charge. And now check out my capital. This is going to be the case in any city that follows our religion, meaning that we'll be able to get 4 base culture from any coastal tile we build an improvement on. We'll send our New World scout to the southwest, because it looks like that's exactly where the city-state is, and because a city-state crossbowman is attacking us, I will pick up a ranged unit to defend our settlement. And there it is, we found Stockholm. I will spend influence right away to start befriending them. We can also pick up some extra culture through a narrative event. And hey, we unlocked the French Empire because we improved free wine resources. Check out everyone's yields on turn 37. We are getting 446 culture per turn, and none of the AIs is getting more than 300. With that said, they are ahead in science, but I'm focusing on culture. One of the things I actually like quite a lot in Civilization 7 is that you can afford to be behind in tech and still win the game no problem. Obviously, it depends on your strategy, and while the same could be said about previous Civilization games, here, having a scientific advantage is less important than ever before. So now that we're done with castles to unlock city walls, we can research guilds, which will unlock 2 very good buildings. The guild hall, which gives a decent amount of gold but also influence every turn, and the kiln, which is a culture building. I also got a merchant, and as mentioned earlier in this game, we want to prioritize silk, because silk will give us plus 10% culture. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will attempt to get some silk. I got a crossbowman now, so I can defend myself. For our next civic, I'm actually going to pick up social class mastery, because this will give us a policy with plus 4 culture and gold in cities in our homelands. which again might not sound like much, but this will be worth quite a lot of culture, because it's being modified by all kinds of stuff. It's a whole lot more than +4 per city. And here's a quick update to everyone's yields. This is turn 39, and we are at 452 culture per turn. The most advanced AI has 304. And since I'm mostly done converting my own cities, we can go after the AI cities. Remember, if we convert a city with at least 10 urban population to our religion for the first time, we will get a relic. So that's my goal. I will convert cities that have a lot of urban districts. You do need to keep an eye on religion in your cities, because it can flip back to one of the AI religions, and obviously then you'll want to convert it back. There are no inquisitors in Civilization 7, you just do it with the missionaries. Now, because our towns are pretty damn big already, we can change the focus in some of them. In this case, I'm going to switch to farming town, which not only means it's going to get more food, it will now be sending food to my actual cities. So here's my merchant, we can grab a trader out, and we got some silk that we can move to our capital. Unfortunately just one for now, but hopefully we can get more. And one of our treasure fleets has arrived. I can unload it, and that gives me +2 treasure fleet points because we had 2 resources. If I had 3, this would have been 3. If I had 4, it would have been 4. You get the idea. So now one of the AIs is proposing an alliance. I usually decline alliances, but I will actually accept this one, and mostly because I only really have 2 neighbors, and she's one of them. So even if we do get dragged into a war, we'll only have to fight one neighbor at a time. This eliminates the risk of having to fight them both. We can still get more settlers, and I will. We can also build another wonder. In this case, I'm going to try building the Forbidden City, which will potentially give me +2 culture and gold on all fortification buildings in this settlement. Which means I could build a whole bunch of walls around my urban districts and get gold as well as culture from all of them. And since we're stacking culture, it's a pretty good wonder. We can still try to get some silk from trade routes, at least one more. So that would be another +10%. And now I converted one of the AI cities. It had at least 10 urban population, which means we got a relic. And you can see my culture is already getting pretty crazy. And we did just meet the other New World AI. He has 412 culture per turn, but all of the other AIs are just barely above 200. And we are at 726. And on the topic of culture, we just unlocked the kiln, which is a culture building. That will boost our culture even further. Now, since this is a New World AI, we can get the trade map endeavor with him, which should reveal a big chunk of the map. Also, since I have quite a lot of influence, we can actually add some more support to become Stockholm's suzerain a little bit faster. On the topic of relics, by the way, you do get some relics for researching civic masteries. So, for example, in this case, Sovereignty 2 would give me +1 relic, just straight up, just for researching it. So that can help you reach some of the milestones. So now that I can change my policies again, I will remove rationalism, and we will replace it with +4 culture and gold in cities in our homeland. And now we are up to 787 culture per turn, on turn 44. And we build the Forbidden City. So now I'll be able to get some walls in that city, and each one will give me +2 culture. Which again, is going to be more than +2 because we got a whole lot of percentage bonuses. We did unlock the kiln, so I will build it in most of my cities, when convenient. I also have a fair bit of gold, which means I can buy a grist mill in our New World city. And that is a very good building. It's a good building even without the +4 culture bonus. But with the +4 culture bonus, it's really, really good. Also, we are currently on turn 46, so on the standard speed this would have been turn 92, and I can already research the future civic. It's definitely worth getting future tech and or future civic, because that gives you a wildcard attribute point, and it also gives you a boost at the start of the next age. However, before I research that, I will finish the masteries. mostly to get the relics. We are still getting the treasure fleets. It's not a huge number of treasure fleets, but I should be able to reach at least one of the milestones, the first one. We probably won't get the Golden Age, however, not from the treasure fleets. Now, I don't want to explore the New World a little bit more, so I will just straight up buy myself a ship. And because of my new town, I unlocked another civilization, which in this case is Russia. You unlock Russia when you have 3 settlements on the Tundra. And here's yet another unlock, because we improved 3 jade resources. You will almost certainly unlock some of the civilizations just for normal gameplay, without even actively trying to do it. However, if you have a very specific strategy in mind, it's definitely a good idea to look up the unlock criteria in advance, if you really want to get a specific civilization in either exploration or modern age, which a lot of the time you will want. And you can check the unlock criteria anytime you want by clicking one of the icons up top. That's the unlock screen. Now, you might have noticed that my culture per turn has dropped. This is because the celebration is no longer active. But once we get the celebration again, we'll get plus 20% culture again. And we found another city-state. It was actually very, very close to my settlement. We will start befriending it right away. And now, because I converted my New World settlement to my religion, I completed one of the milestones. This is the milestone that requires you to have settlements in the New World, and they are worth more if they are converted to your religion. You can also conquer settlements in the New World, and then also convert them to your religion to get even more points in this particular milestone track. I am also up to 8 relics. To complete the culture milestone track, we need 12 relics, and I should be able to get 12 no problem. We also became the Suzerain of Stockholm, and now I can pick up the Suzerain bonus. So I will actually pick up the monastery because that's a unique improvement, and it's a pretty decent one. We can also start incorporating Stockholm right away. We also have literally nothing else left to research in civics, other than future civic. And this is turn 49, and my merchant has finally arrived in another silk city. So we will start the trade route, and that gives me another copy of silk, and obviously I will move it to my capital. So our capital is now getting plus 20% culture from the silk, and obviously a whole lot more from other stuff. What's really funny is that I'm nowhere close to finishing the tech tree. We're not even halfway done with the tech tree, but we are literally done with the civic tree. And to be totally clear, you don't have to go nearly as hard as I did on culture. In fact, past certain point, there's literally no point getting more culture. Because once I'm done with the future civic, there will be nothing else left to research in the civic tree. I will literally not be able to research anything in the civic tree, and my culture will be wasted. I just wanted to use this game as an example of just how far you can go with all these bonuses and the synergies. There are a lot of different bonuses and the synergies of all kinds in Civilization 7, and this is just one example of a strategy you can use. Remember that each Antiquity Age civilization has its own traditions, meaning that unique policies for that civilization, and you get to keep them when you move on to Exploration Age. So that can also be a major part of your strategy. It should be a part of your strategy, once you're more familiar with the game and all of the civilizations available in it. And now I finished researching Future Civic on turn 52. So on the standard speed, this would have been turn 104. This also pushes the age progress, which means I just hit 73%, and that starts the crisis, because the crisis starts at 70%. And this is going to be a religion-related crisis, which means that we want to make sure our cities follow our religion. Otherwise, our happiness will get penalized. So for the civic, I will pick up +2 culture and gold for every active trade route. We have quite a few trade routes now, and this will be a major boost to our culture, actually. And remember, this particular policy is actually tradition. So this comes from Antiquity Age, from the Aksum civilization. For a crisis, there's only one option, which is -8 happiness in settlements that do not follow our religion. but we'll get +2 charges on all new missionaries. And check out my culture now, after I changed the policies. We are getting 1092 culture per turn on turn 52. And we can still push it even higher than this, if we want to. I am still going after relics to get my 12 for the Golden Age. We did get another attribute point, which means we can get another +5% culture, and that will give us 1126 culture right now. Cancel another denunciation with influence. Anyway, here's my final culture number. 1173 on turn 54 on Immortal difficulty. So just as a reminder, if this was standard speed, this would be turn 108. Now, this was definitely overkill. Like I mentioned earlier, I did not need this much culture. I literally have no civics left to research, and we still have 23% left to go in this age. But I hope it was a good demonstration of things you can do in Civilization 7. This was just one strategy of many that you will be able to use in Civilization 7. And I do hope you enjoyed this video, so leave a like if you did, and if you are interested in more Civilization 7 videos in the future, subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time. Bye bye, have a good one.